What a show we've got tonight. Brian, welcome.
Good evening.
So, Brian, I know you've been campaigning for quite a while on the subject of common purpose and associated subjects, but I think we need to get a little bit of background. Obviously, you were in the Royal Navy for some time. Can you give us a little bit of...
Yeah, 21 years altogether, and I left in 1993, set up a small business, changed that, got involved in another business, and eventually started to get what I call a bit comfortable.
Okay, so far so good.
Yeah. So the business was energy management. We looked after the energy accounts, electricity, gas, water for some large commercial organisations. And that was at a time when I suppose everything to do with the environment was a very big thing. And I believed in global warming, which I don't now.
Okay.
Well, essentially, we got visits from people who suggested that maybe we should let the project go. And if you said why, they said because we're ruffling feathers. But we never got any clear answers. There was some talk that developers wanted the land we were wanted for massive housing development. But we didn't quite understand it. The threats escalated, poisonous emails. Eventually they got to death threats and bricks through windows, arson attempts. And one evening I got a call and a man said, "I've got a friend who'd like to talk to you."
I don't think I'd have attended that meeting personally, but...
Well, it was interesting times, but I went to see him and he asked about the project, said we're having problems, and I said yes. And he said, "What do you think the problem is?" And I said, "I don't know." And he then said to me, "I think the problem's common purpose." And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Well, it's an organisation." And I said, "Would you tell me about it?" And he said, "I'd rather not." So I said, "Well, I've driven here to talk to you. Why won't you talk to me about it?" And he said, "Well, I'd just rather not." I got the impression he was scared. So we chatted about some other subjects. I went home, went on the internet, looked up a site for an organisation called Common Purpose. Very different from the present website. And I thought, what is this? Because it was talking about future leaders in society, and I'd never heard of it. So from that point on, we started to dig, and what we discovered in Plymouth was that it was everywhere. Police, hospitals, schools, Chamber of Commerce, but we'd never heard of it. So I'm with colleagues in the Chamber of Commerce who are common purpose, but I'd never heard of it.
And they didn't say? There was no way of knowing?
They didn't say, no.
And how had they become part of common purpose, members, if you like?
Well, the correct term, according to common purpose, is that they're graduates, but basically they had been selected to do a course, which at that stage was a course called Matrix, which was 48 hours in a secluded environment, a hotel or a small accommodation where people could stay overnight. And then following that, a day a month for a year. And
it was called Matrix. That's rather...
well, it's an interesting title, isn't it?
Yeah,
but what we were really interested in was the fact that it was talking about creating the new leaders. So you say, one, who is common purpose to create these people, and what do these new leaders do? And all we knew was we were living in a bit of a nightmare, because there's threats coming in. You're discovering people are members of an organisation they're not declaring, including the police. And you start to get a picture of something working under the surface of society. I'll take it a step further, because eventually a particular gentleman had a good look at the website, and what he found were documents talking about re-engineering a new society, where common purpose leaders would be the people who controlled society. And the bit that we also paid attention to is that they were talking about taking children of the age of 12 to 14 and effectively grooming them to be the new leaders. Now, when I've talked to audiences live now, quite often older people will say, "This is what happened in Nazi Germany, Hitler Youth."
Yes, like the Pope. He was a member of Hitler Youth.
Well, he was. I don't know whether he's common purpose, but certainly he was a member of Hitler Youth, yeah. Okay? Well,
I can understand that.
You laugh, but this is all going on out of the public eye. So what we've got is a group of individuals who could include a policeman, a council officer, a local developer, a vicar, maybe somebody from the local university, They are an advisory board for common purpose, and they are selecting in their community who is okay, who is the right material to be common purpose trained.
I understand also, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I have read that even criminals are inducted into common purpose.
Absolutely. And one
known criminals.
Known criminals.
Is that because they have some influence in the community?
Well, they certainly have major influence in it, but it depends what you think the common purpose is trying to do in society. Common purpose says that it is trying to assist society and create future leaders and educate people. But what we are finding is that where common purpose is operating, never mind what common purpose says, we're finding people who say since common purpose has been operating, things seem to be breaking down.
So do you think that's why they were trying to stop you having this effort to help young people by building
Absolutely, because what is actually happening in this country is it's being taken apart. I use an expression which is, why does nothing work anymore? If you look out the window and you look at what's happening in society, nothing works. Schools, hospitals, transport, police.
So it's like a kind of shadow government, isn't it?
It's a shadow government. And what gets quite spooky, to use that word, is where you see common purpose saying, our networks, this is a quote, our networks will soon be very important. What do they mean? But then you see them now starting to join UK networks with networks in Europe. So we think we've got our normal system of government operating, but what's actually happening under the surface is a new common purpose is shaping the direction of society. And you will have heard Gordon Brown talk about common purpose. And there's
yes, and I heard Barack Obama using the expression common purpose.
Absolutely, because there's a real movement when you say, well, what is that common purpose? And that common purpose is a new form of government, and it certainly is not democratic. We have stuck just with common purpose, but I have to say that researchers who are working with us are adamant that they are finding links through to Freemasonry. Now, I'm not going to get into what could be quite a heavy discussion on that. I will just say that, yes, we're finding links. You draw your own conclusions. Okay. They are looking for a new society with a new form of government, the post-democratic era. Now, that's a very interesting expression. And in that post-democratic era, the government and the control will be formed by common purpose chosen leaders. So you are not going to be voting for your local councillor. The person who's going to be running you is going to be an elitist common purpose leader. Children are being deliberately taken from their parents, and they are then being put into a system of abuse, which is either physical or sexual.
Well, again, extremely serious allegations, Brian.
Well, I don't sit here making these idly, and I've got no worries about this, because initially when people spoke to us, some you would say, where's the evidence? They're traumatised, they don't have it. But when people arrive with 3 ring files where they're showing falsified papers, they're showing discharge notes from hospitals with no signatures and no diagnosis, and I can show you 4 hospitals involved in that, we know what these people are saying is real. Well, where we're heading to at the moment, and I'll make a statement, I believe this, as an ex-military person, we are heading towards a vicious police state. And at the moment, we know that our politicians are not working for us. We certainly know the House of Lords is not working for us, because they are working for profit. And we need to do something to stop the slide into a police state. And lawful rebellion is taking action within the law in order to stop that situation. But it's time people got off their bottoms to do something to shout and stop what is happening. It's very serious what's started to happen in this country.